And a very warm welcome to our little place on the internet. You might, and thank you for joining us. It's a great honour to have you with us. Good evening from Irma and from David. It is lovely to have your company, as it has been most days. You may notice perhaps a little bit of a difference in the background tonight. The books have gone, and we've moved to a different room. We moved downstairs, so we can from time to time give you a peek at the garden, which will be kind of rather fun. And looking at the trees and all that stuff is a terrific thing to be able to do at this time of year, because in case you hadn't noticed, it's kind of spring and all that sort of thing. So we're springing into action. That was a bit of a cliched sort of link. That's a sort of link.
Spring has sprung.
Spring has sprung. That's what DJs say on the radio, isn't it? Corny kind of stuff like that. A very good evening to Kevin, and welcome to our downstairs living room, where we can show you little snaps, little flashes of the garden from time to time. It's still there, and I think I caught sight of a tree the other day, but we'll probably have to turn the camera around properly to actually show you. But you can see there's that's not a light outside that back window, that's the sun. The window behind us, and so it feels kind of more light and airy, and as lockdown lifts and hopefully doesn't recur again, it just seems kind of useful to do this kind of thing. A very good evening to our good friend Kevin, who's got to leave us in about 25 minutes, so we will reorder the order of things that we're going to be doing tonight, and look at the responses to the questions from the people on the podium. We're going to do yesterday's and today's. We'll be doing that a bit earlier. Probably nearer the end, though, we'll be sharing with you some politically correct bedtime stories. We're going to do the story of Rumpelstiltskin. Hello, Mr. Johnny Reese, a radio man. How lovely to be joined by a fellow radio man. Well, here we are in our living room. Hello, Kieran. Thank you for joining us. Here we are in our living room. It's kind of summery because I think it's about the time, and John as well, our Iron Maiden friend and friend from the Rock Radio Network. Wow, all the old friends from days gone by are joining us this evening. So it's a great honour, and thank you so much for joining us in our home. We've moved to a different part of the home. We've come all the way down the stairs with all this equipment and cables and wires and bits and pieces, because it's more of a summery feel now, and we want to be able to share that with you. Yeah, and we've got more tablets and keyboards and screens and things you could possibly imagine. And the sound is probably a bit rough because we haven't set up the microphone yet. That's under the table. Yeah. And you don't believe me, do you? They don't believe that the microphone is under the table. But let me show you. This is the thing that is normally just out of shot. And it's an enormous, great big thing. And there it is. And you can see it's not even plugged in. So, I'm not. Would I lie to you? But I'm just saying. Disappearing again into that under the table zone, and just just managing to avoid dropping the microphone on Irma's beautiful foot. Hello, Kevin. Thank you. Hope things are good up your way this evening. That is to say, the second Kevin to have joined us this evening. We have at least two. I think there were three Kevins one evening, which is Kevin's a great name, though, isn't it? Really, by the way.
Johnny Reese is saying hi to you both. Hope all is well. Yes.
Thank you. Absolutely so. Absolutely so. Hope all's well with you too, Johnny, as well. In that place they call the Album Zone. Johnny, like me, likes kind of music that isn't the sort of thing that's played on the sort of punchy top 40 radio stations, but something a bit more chilled and something a bit more depth. Oh, and I'll tell you what, I'll send it to you on private messenger later, Johnny. There's this YouTube video that I saw the other day, which was called "Why All the Modern Music Is Crap," and they analysed the lyrics and they analysed the vocal progressions and this sort of thing. Then they compared it to the old stuff from our day. It was quite a young fellow doing it. You saw it, a bit of it. It was a very long thing, but the first 5 minutes makes a lot of good points about just repeating the word umbrella 50 times doesn't necessarily make for a thought-provoking song and having about 3 notes. But just my personal opinion. And Michael, thank you for joining us this evening. It's great, really great to have your company now. From the Cambridge Evening News, because that's where we are, comes this groundbreaking story where we're what is it, day 58, so 7/8 of, are we in week 9?
Week 9.
7
Yes.
8 of 56, 57. Yeah, so we're in week 9. Oh, and hello, Raymond. It's very good to have your company this evening. Thank you for joining Ian and I. We've moved downstairs today, so we're in a slightly different setting. But look, we're in week 9 of this coronavirus. We've been bombarded with scientific explanations, and we know how to catch it and not catching it. And as of today, breaking news on our local newspaper, who are really finger on the pulse. They've got the finger on the pulse here. Washing your hands to lower coronavirus risk. How many times a day? And they say that 6 to 10 times a day. Wow. Our hands are absolutely raw and blah, blah, blah.
I do wash mine very regularly.
Yeah. You'll have to show me what oils and things to put on the old hands, because my hands aren't as sore.
Just moisturiser. I've got a very good quality one that you only apply it once, and
Yes.
you can wash your hands and everything else, and just apply the hand sanitizer that I use.
Okay. We won't advertise any brand names.
Nope.
But Irma will show me later, and I'll put some on there. And then tomorrow night when we do this, my hands won't be kind of burning so much with agony. You know what I mean. I'm Darren. A very good evening to you, sir, and thank you for joining us on our nightly look at the news here in Coronaville. There's a lot of all these statistics about washing your hands. Anyway, do wash your hands, and if you don't, then don't say I didn't warn you.
You know, this wash your hands. It's nothing new. I mean, I'm from Mexico, and so as far as I'm concerned, we always wash our hands. Now we have to do it a bit more regularly, but that was a given.
So in Mexico, right, you used to wash your hands for half a minute.
No, just very thoroughly washed. What happens is in Mexico,
Yeah.
being a very hot country,
Yes.
you tend to get a lot of bacteria, viruses, etc., from vegetables, fruit, and from whenever. So it just kind of is a habit.
But look, did you do this bit? This is the kind of key sort of hand washing thing where you have to.
No, we just wash.
Well, there you go. There.
And then just go like that.
So it's all lurking in between the fingers and things. You
No,
see.
like that. Like you see. Never mind.
I'm not convinced, but you know, it's like, you know, scrubs means scrubbing your hands. Well, it also means Wormwood Scrubs, the place where I spent many happy a long year. Because you see, I'm wearing my convict shirt tonight. Only joking, by the way. But anyway, So anyway, doctors before operations scrub up rather intensely, and that's how we're being shown how to do it now. Good evening, Emily. Thank you for joining us in our front room. Now the big breaking news. This is the front room downstairs. The other one with all the books is the front room upstairs. Coronavirus. Long queues at McBurgers as they reopen their drive-throughs. Now, I mean,
the one that the chicken with this not chicken, or
the one where allegedly, and where the milkshake is some kind of plastic thing, and
I don't know.
the chips are extruded starch. But we didn't name any names, did we? We just alluded to it. And you know, go and watch that film Super Size Me if you don't believe me, because I personally don't eat them, and my weight has gone down from 92 kilos to a mere, what was it now, 69, 68, something like that.
Yeah.
Probably a bit less now, because I've been doing some pumping of iron today. And customers were warned at McBurger that service would not be as quick as you might be used to. And it asked visitors to be patient and supportive of staff. Orders were capped at 25 quid per video. Another thing, there's a thing on YouTube which is hysterically funny. I don't know if I ever showed you that one, of a guy who's kind of hidden under the seat or something, and he drives, you know, they're sort of driving the car hidden low down, and it appears that there's a skeleton driving the car, who then makes an order.
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah.
Very, very funny video, and the staff are a bit freaked out. And the skeleton's going, can I have fries with that, please, or something similar. A few breaking news stories for today. London's going to remain in lockdown despite no new cases in 24 hours, which is some kind of pretty terrific news. Superdrug has become the first high street retailer to offer an antibody test, but we'll be talking more about that later, because the over-the-counter things are not regarded very highly. And councils could block up to 250,000 pupils returning to school on June the 1st. And that's the best bit of news I've heard all week, actually, to be honest. And our good friend Sharon has joined us. Hello, Sharon. It's terrific to have you with us tonight. So, surprise, surprise, young adults are the most likely age group to be infected with COVID-19. I wonder why that could be. It's like, well, hey, let's go to the park. Oh, and what's on the beach? And I'm not being ageist here. No, I'm being reverse ageist. Because people are always bashing us old kids. So why not? The hairstyle that runs America has said, and I quote, "Having the most cases of coronavirus is a badge of honour."
Oh.
That's what he said.
Why?
Well, why indeed? Why indeed? Yeah.
Interesting.
That is well, it's not interesting. It's awful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a Cambridge story, isn't there? What's going on here in Cambridge? I completely forgot. What's going on here in Cambridge then?
Well, Cambridge University, all lectures to be online only until summer of 2021.
Did I hear that correctly? So that
Yes,
means
did.
because
You were correct because you predicted that. You told me that was going to be until then.
I
and
did.
I thought, no. And apparently, yes.
that is, and when they say until the summer of 21, you see, then the students have a long break. So that means that Cambridge University won't be reconvening in its lecture halls and things until October
There is a
of
however.
2021.
There is a however. Lectures will be available to students online, and it might be possible to host smaller teaching groups in person if they meet social distancing requirements.
Whoa! So four
So
people in the
cater-
supervision
yeah.
each sitting 2 meters apart.
Yeah, soon they're going to offer flexibility for the students who would like to attend.
This is an absolute sort of groundbreaking thing because
It is.
a few universities have announced. I think Manchester, for example, announced that all their lectures for the autumn term are going to be online, but to go the whole year. And now let's bear in mind that Cambridge has got some pretty clever epidemiologists. That's a difficult word to say, isn't it? And they, you did it better than me.
Of course.
Oh, it's the way she does it. Wow. So for them to do that, they must have a pretty damn good idea of the way things are heading. And I think I would rely on Cambridge Uni better than all the government briefings and stuff. If you joined us before the beginning, or no, after the beginning, we're going to be reading a politically correct bedtime story later on. It's a hysterical version of the children's story Rumpelstiltskin, but don't worry, it's only short, but it's a kind of bedtime story, shall we head now, because our friend Kevin, who supplies us exclusively with copies of the questions on the podium, so we should go through some of them. He supplied me with yesterday's and today's, so he's got to go at 9 o'clock, and so we'll deal with yesterday's questions and today's. Okay. We don't prep this; we just read them and we give you our completely biased opinions. Mm-hmm. So today's question from the public, number one from yesterday's question, number one is.
Is that yesterday? Yesterday was the 19th.
This is yesterday was I know. Doesn't time fly? And today is the 20th.
Oh my goodness!
I know. Doesn't time fly in lockdown?
Right. So the first question was from Kojid from Solihull. What is the government doing to gather, share learnings of coronavirus with persons around the world?
That's a very good question, and it's something that we should have been doing a lot earlier than we did. There's a story by that fellow George Monbiot, is it, or Monbiot, who in The Guardian yesterday, where he says that if we had pulled our fingers out in February, when the government knew the stuff, all the cases were coming, all being recorded, would have had 5,000 deaths instead of 35,000. Mm. So, and sensible folks, we could see everything that's going down in Italy. And then, we're going to Stereophonics concerts. In my view, that was inexcusable. In my view also, because I'm an opinionated old git, we're releasing lockdown too quickly. And we may start to see the numbers rise again. It's too early for that to happen. But come next week or the week after, let's hope that people are continuing to be sensible. They weren't very sensible in Southend-on-Sea at the weekend, where a load of people turned up and it looked like a normal Saturday. Mm-hmm. So
ideally, it would be great if they were to have all the data available and then really, really scrutinize the data and see what the spikes are and why, and analyze all the socioeconomics of the thing. See what's happening.
Yeah.
And just pass us good data, but who knows.
Nick from Gatwick says, for those of us that work in sectors where we can't return to work, like aviation and hospitality, Will we see the government increasing the length of payment holidays for both mortgages and loans to ensure we can financially weather this storm too?
Well, I'm not sure about the loans. I think follow is I don't know if loans, but I think in terms of payment, they are extended until October. After that, I'm not sure. But
Yeah,
they
they're talking
should
about
really.
toning down the furlough payments as well a bit. So we shall see. But I mean, early on in this game, the boss of Witherspoon's, Tim Witherspoon, is it? I think he said he encouraged, he shut everything down. Just before I think the government announced that he had to, because people were voting with their feet and not going to places and so forth. So it made little sense for him to stay open, and he advised his workers to get to go and work for Tesco's. So there you go. So what I mean is there are sectors where people can get jobs. Like, for example, picking strawberries in the old fields. I think my recommendation to Nick from Gatwick would be to pick a few strawberries.
Yeah.
Because it has to be done. It's seasonal work, and that work is there, not necessarily sitting at home. This is just me ranting a bit, but not
It's
necessarily
quite relaxing. It's quite
sitting
relaxing.
at home
also
being
to-
paid to watch Netflix. Because we're much better. You can sit at home and watch us anytime. That's for sure.
So
And then today's questions for the public. Thomas from Northwest. It doesn't say Northwest what? Probably the Northwest, perhaps. Please can you give an update on what the UK is doing to help the poorer nations through this pandemic? I think the poorer nations are helping us. They're sending us masks and bits and pieces.
and
So,
and better data.
yeah, absolutely. So we are number 2 in the world. That's something at last, but we are number 2 in the number of cases and deaths from coronavirus, which is not a badge of honour, as Donald the haircut said over the pond. It's a shameful thing, and we wish the government would do more. Obviously, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. But as the data comes in, we know now that this thing is very, very contagious. We know that if you stay at home and, in our case, seal the letterbox, then there are not much of a chance for these germs to get in, because they can't get in around the cracks in the door. Well, they probably could, but it wouldn't be that easy for them to do so. And
Yeah.
and so
Yeah, but I haven't heard anything about the UK helping other poorer nations.
no, I haven't heard anything either. So if anybody has, please tell us in the comments. Finally,
Good to
Heather
know.
from Devon says,
I, like many others, have had medical reviews delayed as nurses who conducted them were redeployed to the front line and are currently still working in hospitals. How long will it be before those NHS staff can go back to their normal jobs?
that's a good question. I mean, it rather depends really on what happens over the next few weeks. As we know, the Nightingale was closed and put on standby and whatever. But, and it's a big but, at the moment the old cases are tailing off very nicely. But it sort of depends with the warm weather we're having now. If people are going out, we saw a bloke shaking hands with his mate and patting him on the back and all this kind of stuff. And so if people are doing that, they are potentially transmitting this virus, and we go from 1 in 400 to 1 in 100, or or worse. And so it rather depends on how we behave as to how this all pans out. A very good evening to Rodney. Thank you for joining us. Also to Jill. I hope you're good, and hope things are good there in Wales. And to Don as well. It's good to have you with us on this Wednesday evening. Yeah, I think it is. So over in the good old US of A, there was a wedding, which was a kind of rather unusual one in that it was done in a car park. And it was socially distanced, it's actually a booth that's been set up in the parking lot of the Honda Center in Anaheim, in California. And you've got a socially distanced booth. I don't know whether the couple are allowed to stand next to each other. I think probably yes, but the people officiating and everything are behind glass screens or whatever. It's a quickie job. It's 10 minutes, in, out, and pop the ring on, exchange the flowers, and the witnesses are standing far away. It's quite an extraordinary sight. I used to hold up the laptop to the camera, but at the moment I can't do that. But because I'm using a big chunky one, which is heavier than I can sort of lift. But it's
So you know the wedding photographs in which you photograph the whole family. In this case, I guess it was just the groom and the bride, if there's social distancing, and you can add the other ones.
You could Photoshop them in, but
Photoshop.
they could all be standing, in like a triangle, 2 meters, 2 meters, 2 meters behind, sort of fanning out into the distance. But it wouldn't be quite the usual thing. Bikers, I'm a great fan of bikers. I think bikers are terrific people because they listen to the same sort of music as me, although I've never been a biker as such. But they're delivering life-saving devices to COVID-19 patients who are at risk of rapid deterioration. It's an army of biker volunteers. They're called the Bike Shed Community Response and COVID Crisis Rescue. My goodness, that's a good... And it doesn't even make a word. Bisk, ra, it should be something that says like helper or biker or something, but it doesn't. I'm a great fan of those things. But anyway, never mind. But it's a great initiative, and they're delivering oximeter probe devices. I've no idea what that is, but I'm sure it'll tell me here. They help patients to monitor their oxygen levels to avoid the potentially fatal side effect of silent hypoxia. So that's good.
That's very good.
That's good. Any medical folks listening will know what that means.
Yeah, I'm reading here from Reuters. I know Reuters about technology.
Reuters.
Says Reuters. Interferon therapy may speed recovery, so as anti-inflammatory as well. So that gives the hindsight. I started taking
anti-inflammatory stuff. Yeah, turmeric is the business.
Yeah.
And we've got no shares in any turmeric companies. We don't grow it illicitly in our garden. You can either get it from the health food stores in little capsules, because let's face it, it does taste pretty idiosyncratic.
I like it.
No, I hate it, but it does the business. And mix it with a bit of pepper as well, ground pepper, and it's very, very, very good. It's anti-inflammatory. It will stop inflammation. It's also whatever you call it for blood, that thins the blood. Anticoagulant, that's the word. At my age, it's hard to find those words sometimes. But
that's
it's
a good...
that stuff, honestly.
Yeah.
Trust me on that one, because I take it every day. And a very good evening to our friend Fiona down the road in
and Elizabeth,
and also to Elizabeth and to Ian's friend Elizabeth. Isn't that wow? It's great to have you guys with us. As you can see, we've moved downstairs now from the room with the books, upstairs at the front of the house to the room without the books, downstairs at the back of the house. But because it's summer now, you see, so then we can pop out to the garden and sing as soon as we finish our live, and that's a very important consideration for us, and we're sort of running through some of the good news that's been going on in the land of viruses and things. No more drinking at the bar, or salt and pepper shakers when pubs reopen. That has been mooted.
Oh,
so life will never be quite the same.
Because
I like going to the bloke at the bar, look over there, and he looks over there, and sprinkling some salt in his beer. So I won't be able to do that anymore. I won't be able to do that anymore. My life is going to change beyond recognition once all this lockdown's over. So that will be a kind of interesting thing. Now, Sweden. This is not a good bit. Do you remember seeing on the news how Sweden had a sort of different policy to the rest of us, and they were keeping all their cafes and bars and so forth open, and asking people to be sensible. Well, as I feared, the worst has now come to pass, and Sweden has now become the country with the biggest coronavirus death rate per capita. It's a nasty lurgy. You stay away from people. It's common sense. And I'm sorry, I've got great respect for Sweden as a nation. I think they're very liberal. They're a terrific bunch of guys, but I think they got this one wrong, even worse than us in a sense, although obviously it's a smaller country, so they're not going to get the numbers, but per capita, per head of population, then it is not a wonderful thing. Spanish cities are likely to be off limits to tourists this summer, which will hit their tourism industry quite hard, I guess. So there's a lot of people going to be hit by this virus, and it's not just the people suffering from it. It's not just the people suffering from it. It's the people whose jobs collapse because of it. Now.
But a lot of people in the UK is also that they have properties in Spain. They decide to stay in the UK until all this is clear in terms of what's happening.
What is this awesome thing that guy did?
Runner completes 19 marathons in 19 days for coronavirus relief. Ooh.
19 marathons. I walked one marathon once when I was about 18. Last year, that would
You
be.
did?
Last year, I don't remember. At the age of 18.
No.
Oh. Yeah, I did. It was 26 miles, 40 kilometres. And I set out. This was a course where you could start. It was a charity thing. You could start any time between 6 and 10 in the morning. And then you could do this course. And I obviously started at 10, obviously, at the last possible moment. And what was so disheartening is there were people who jogged around this course, all 26 miles, and they were arriving just as I was leaving, just as I was setting out. And then I dropped into a few hostelries and things on the way, and I didn't get round the course until about 6 p.m. And I was like the last person at all these checkouts where they're checking you out. And they were really pleased to see me because then they could sort of stop and go home.
This comes from is from the CNN, and is an Ironman guy that just ran that and raised about £19,000.
It's superb. And our very good friend Crusher, Rock Hard, Rock Heavy, Rock Animal, has joined us in the old living room, different one to the usual one. And my friend Jin has joined us as well. And Jin has just moved to a new flat in London, or is in the process of doing so. And I hope that works out very well for you. So drones, huh? We were... For a long time, old Mr. Bezos has been talking about delivering parcels by drone, and I don't think it quite happened yet. I think there were some trials.
Yeah, there's been some
I
trials.
don't think it's happened. Maybe maybe it's something for the future. But in Ireland now, there's a company who were going to be delivering takeaways to students using drones, but they've started delivering medication and essential supplies to isolated older people. That's a very nice story. That's a very nice story. I mean, I think some of these things will become de rigueur, won't they, moving forward? And I think, drones are going to be a part of our life. They're here to stay. Driverless cars, maybe, as well. And maybe the coronavirus thing will impact that. Insofar as, if you're taking a taxi, maybe it's better if the driver doesn't cough on you and you cough on him, because it could go either way. But who then is going to clean the cab between this passenger and the next one? So it's not all straightforward, is it? So maybe that will stymie the driverless cabs. I don't know. So and there are some pictures here of the old drone flying through the sky, which I can't unfortunately show you tonight because our tech isn't 100% there yet, but in the new room, and we've still got some cables on the floor and bits and pieces, quite a lot of bits and pieces on the floor behind us, which will all need to be plugged in. But we were too busy this afternoon enjoying the sunshine, so we just put up the basic rig to get the old thing out there. But at least the sound's working, because we sometimes forget that, don't we?
This is families from different households may soon be able to meet outdoors in Wales, as government considers relaxing lockdown.
Wow, that's interesting, because
it's the weather. It's the weather.
I guess it's the weather and the desire to avoid a revolution, perhaps, that sort of thing. Maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong. But I think that would certainly play a factor in things. An air bridge. Do you know what an air bridge is? Well, it's a plan to avoid the 14-day quarantine, and so you can go on your summer holidays abroad, which we're certainly not going to be doing here in the UK. But it's what it's saying is that countries that have a similar coronavirus status to ours, you won't have to do this 14-day lockdown, which would really mess up the holiday, wouldn't it? If you had to stay indoors for 14 days and then it's time to go home because you only had 2 weeks leave. So that would completely kill the UK tourist industry. But they might do reciprocal deals with some other nations, whereby our people can go there and their people can come here without needing to be quarantined or at airports. But frankly, are you going to fly anywhere this year?
No.
Me neither, because it's bad enough to be sort of on the street trying to keep 2 meters away from some fella or lady with who might or might not have this virus, but to be kind of stuck in a big metal tube with them, there isn't enough place to go to that's 2 meters away, and then they'll walk down the aisle anyway coughing on the way to the loo. So it's just not on. Maggie, a very good evening to you, and hope that you and Stuart are doing very well. It's very nice of you to join us in our living room again. We do this at kind of random times. We don't do it at the same time every night, for which we apologise. But we just kind of try and fit in with what Kevin's doing. Kevin that is to say, Kevin, aka Rocker Kev. So we were doing it much earlier tonight because we weren't really ready, but we're sort of naked from the waist down, and we just got the shirts on.
No, I'm not.
Well, I'm only joking, but I'm not going to stand up and show you. Okay, so it's. But anyway, I do sometimes stand up, but today I'm very comfy in the old chair here. So that is a possible sort of easing of a sort of lockdown type situation, and there are also going to be exemptions for freight drivers. 12,000 of them a day bring in vital supplies of food, medicines, and other things. Though they will be allowed to come in without obviously the quarantine thing, because it would make sense, because then they've got to go back and pick up another load. And in that sense, it's probably good that Brexit hasn't happened yet, because they can carry on doing that for the rest of the year. And boy, do we really need that stuff. And it's not going to come from hundreds of miles away while this is on, is it really? Now, vaccine trials. This is great. This is from the Independent newspaper. Vaccine trial volunteer on a potential coronavirus breakthrough. So this is a lady called Jennifer Haller, and she has been told that there's a vaccine that actually boosts your immune response, which is terrific, and the lower doses are just as effective as the higher dose in the trial, which is absolutely exciting. So onwards, upwards, and that's some really good, really good evidence of a top result for one of the many. I think there are many clinical trials going on of vaccines and medications and everything. So every little bit of good news is great.
Mm-hmm.
And what have we got on Irma's tablet? We've got lots of pretty pictures actually. Never scrub a toilet again. Oh, come on! Where's this one? Oh my goodness! Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Which was it? This window?
Yeah.
We just got to know this. Where,
this is the one. Here it is.
There it is. Now, what is the secret? What big, well-known international brand of product that's very, very well known spends a whole fortune on advertising, and you can drink it? What could possibly be used for dealing with the lavatory bowl? Ooh, it's the real thing. That's all I'm going to tell you. That's a clue. Anyway, read us something from the 100 Chat Up Lines book. Come on, impress me. Come on, impress me.
I found this book on David's collection, and I find it rather funny. It's called 100 Chat Up Lines. I wonder if he ever used any.
Well, it worked, didn't it? It worked.
Well, I think it did. I'm just going to guess one, if I may share.
Right. Share with me the one.
Oh, this one. I have 2 tickets for the concert theatre, and I can't think of anyone I would rather go with than you. So I was wondering, if you have no other plans, maybe you would like to go with me and make the evening a little bit extra special. Oh. That's so lovely.
It's a nice one, isn't it? Would that one work?
Probably.
There you go, fellas. Off we go.
Oh my God! Look at this.
Yeah.
Stick with me, girl, and I'll show you the world.
How about that? Yeah. So why don't girls chat up boys more often?
I think they do nowadays. I think that's a trend. In my
Equality.
times, in my times, no. The boys had to.
There's another. Oh, and hello, Cleo. Thank you for joining us this evening. There is another video on YouTube that I saw where this boy, as a sort of experiment, is walking around the park trying to chat up girls, when nowadays people meet on social media and this kind of thing, and they're all looking at him as a complete weirdo, and he's being super charming, and he's going, "Oh, hello, pretty girl, lovely to see you. Nice day, isn't it?" And they go, "Ooh, who is this fella?" and so times have changed a lot, haven't they? And things move on. At the beginning of our lengthy thing tonight, we mentioned, didn't we, about these tests, the high street tests, it is said here in an article on Sky that these antibody tests, experts have said that these and six. Guess how much this test costs?
£600.
Oh, come on.
£6.
No, £69.
Okay.
That is a lot of money for something that you take a fingerprint and send it off to a laboratory, but experts have said it's only a partial picture and it's good for satisfying people's curiosity, but no more. The high street retailer pharmacy, which is not Boots, it's the other one, Superdrug, it says that its test is 97.5% accurate at developing, testing the protein that develops after a coronavirus infection. But the experts, according to this article, are not convinced. And so interesting. We just don't know about enough about what it takes to make someone immune to COVID-19 to accurately test people, said Professor Simon Clark, who is an associate professor in cellular microbiology at the University of Reading.
It was a long word.
So you pay your money, you take your choice. It
Mhm.
was.
Mhm.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious is an even longer word. Do you have some of your usual wisdom for us? Because I'm spouting off here. And
Well, you wanted to read something about political correct.
we're so going to do
stories.
that. We're so going to do that. We'll do it together
Yeah.
in a minute.
Oh, yeah. This is from a book from Anne Wilson Schaef, Meditations for Women Who Do Too Much. And here it says, creative minds have always been known to survive any kind of bad training. Anna Freud. Says, even though her father believed that our lives are determined in our first 5 years, Anna Freud seems to have moved beyond him. Although we are affected by our past and our training, each of us has within us the possibility of moving beyond them. Unfortunately, when we try not to be like our parents, we get caught in the same trap as when we feel that we have to be like them. Either way, we are determined by our past and controlled by our reaction to our past. Some of us spend our entire lives vacillating between these two positions. We do have another choice. That choice is to acknowledge our past and be ourselves. That's very, very true. I mean, sometimes we just live our lives living in the past and feeling bitter and sorry for ourselves and what this happened to me. But in reality, if we just change our mindset, we all have different upbringings and different kind of tragedies in our life. I mean, every single day can present one for many people. Yet there is something within you innate that says, hang on a second, this is not your life. You're not living someone else's life. This is your life. I'm trying to just raise from wherever you are and just enjoy living. That's my gift.
That's what it's all about. That's the bottom line. And now, a book at bedtime, which Irma and I will read to you. And this is from a book called Politically Correct Bedtime Stories. This is an absolute hoot. So, long ago, in a kingdom far away, there lived a miller who was very economically disadvantaged. This miller shared his humble dwelling with his only daughter, an independent young woman named Esmeralda. Now, the miller was very ashamed of his poverty, rather than angry at the economic system that had marginalised him, and was always searching for a way to get rich quick.
Mm-hmm. If only I could get my daughter to marry a rich man, he mused, in a sexist and archaic way. She'll be fulfilled and I'll never have to work another day in my life. To this shabby end, he had an inspiration.
He would start a rumour that his daughter was able to spin common barnyard straw into pure gold. With this untruth, he would be able to attract the attention of many rich men and marry off Esmeralda.
The rumor spread throughout the kingdom in a manner that just happened to be like wildfire as soon reached the prince. As greedy and gullible as most men of his station, he believed the rumor and invited Esmeralda to his castle for a May Day festival.
But when she arrived, he had her thrown into a dungeon filled with straw and ordered her to spin it into gold.
Locked in the dungeon, fearing for her life, Esmeralda sat on the floor and wept.
Never Had the exploitativeness of the patriarchy been made so apparent to her? As she cried, a diminutive man in a funny hat appeared in the dungeon.
"Why are you crying, my dear?" he asked.
Esmeralda was startled, but answered him, "The prince has ordered me to spin all this straw into gold."
"But why are you crying?" he asked again.
"Because it can't be done. What are you, specially abled or something?"
The differently statured man laughed and said, "Dearie, you are thinking too much with the left side of your brain. You are, but you are in luck. I will show you how to perform this task. Yes, but first you must promise to give me what I want in return."
A very good evening, by the way, to Colin, who's just joined us, and to Paul, who's just joined us. We are reading a politically correct bedtime story, the story of Rumpelstiltskin. This is an absolute hoot.
We need the candles.
With no alternative, Esmeralda gave her assent. To turn the straw into gold, they took it to a nearby farmers' cooperative, where it was used to thatch an old roof.
With a drier home, the farmers became healthier and more productive, and they brought forth a record harvest of wheat for local consumption.
The children of the kingdom grew strong and tall, went to a cooperative school, and gradually turned the kingdom into a model democracy with no economic or social injustice and low infant mortality rates.
For his part, the prince was captured by an angry mob and stabbed to death, with pitchforks outside the palace.
As new investment money poured in from all over the world, the farmers remembered Esmeralda's generous gift of straw and rewarded her with numerous chests of gold.
When all this was done, the diminutive man in the funny hat laughed and said, "That is how you turn a straw into gold?"
Then his expression became menacing. "Now that I've done my work, you must fulfill your part of the bargain. You must give me your firstborn child."
Esmeralda shot back at him. What did she do? "I don't have to negotiate with anyone who would interfere with my reproductive rights."
The vertically challenged man was taken aback by the conviction in her voice. Deciding on a change in tactics, he said slyly, "Fair enough, dearie. I'll let you out of the bargain if you can guess what my name is."
"All right," said Esmeralda. She paused a second, tapped her chin with a finger, and said, "Would your name be, I don't know, maybe Rumpelstiltskin?"
"Ah!" shrieked the man of non-standard height. But how did you know?"
She replied, "You are still wearing your name badge from the Little People's Empowerment Seminar."
Rumpelstiltskin screamed in anger and stamped his foot, at which point the earth cracked open and swallowed him up in a rush of smoke and sulphur.
With her gold, Esmeralda moved to California to open a birth control clinic,
where she showed other women how not to be enslaved by their reproductive systems and lived to the end of her days as a fulfilled, dedicated single person. So that's slightly different to what you read the Sprogs to put them to bed at night. At least I hope it is. But that was a politically correct bedtime story. We've never done anything quite like that on the thing, and we just thought we'd share it with you. Bit of silliness.
And on that note...
And on that note, we'll fire up all our laptops and tablets and that sort of thing. Now we were reading the other night about some rhesus monkeys who were tested. They were testing the virus, the vaccine against this virus, the one that Oxford University are developing. And the story that we read seemed to indicate that it wasn't working for them, but there's a couple of studies published today offer some of the first real scientific evidence that surviving COVID may result in some degree of immunity. 9 infected monkeys recovered from the virus, and when they were exposed again, they did not get sick, which is a terrific result. It's a terrific result. These results haven't been peer reviewed yet, so lots of other scientists haven't had the chance to look at them critically and so forth. But it's a top top result in our battle against this nasty little thing that lurks on door handles in particular, and other places as well. But mostly it should lurk on your elbow and you should cough like that. Yeah. We're going to wrap reasonably soon, but not before I've told you about, or we've told you, about a Scottish coronavirus granddad who met his great-great-grandchild over Zoom from the hospital. Isn't that a lovely story?
Oh, my goodness.
And his name is Alex Weir. He survived a chest infection and pneumonia and the old coronavirus because he wanted to meet baby Cora Haldane. That is a lovely, lovely story. He was admitted to hospital in mid-April, but he has survived, which is absolutely fantastic, fantastic news.
That's right.
And on that note, with it getting dark here, because you can see, because the light outside has gone a bit thing, so that's the sun. The sun's been extinguished. We've just got the old desk light now shining in our faces. It's probably time to wish you a very good night, to thank you for joining us on this Wednesday evening,
We're very grateful.
and to hope we're honoured to have you here in our other living room, in a sort of downstairs place. We hope that you'll be in a position to join us again at the same time, whatever that may be, tomorrow. Whenever that may be. What comes after Wednesday?
Thursday.
That's the one. So we look
Thank
forward.
you and good evening.
Thank you. A very good night to you.